Hey guys, I'm going to talk about politics today. Controversial subject. I think that some people will either love me a lot more after this conversation or hate me a lot more after this conversation. So, hi Mom. Okay, so this is about politics. Like I said, some people are gonna love me more after this conversation, and some people are gonna hate me more. And I'm ready. I'm so ready. So, I'm gonna bring this all the way back a couple hundred years. A couple hundred years ago, this group of people, a family, got a lot of money by being extremely manipulative. So they didn't necessarily get money in the best way possible. They pretty much manipulated the stock market, and a war going on at the time. They had a courier service, and they manipulated the courier service to show that one country had won the war so that they could get in on, stocks at a lower rate. And then when the real news about who won the war came a couple days later, they got a bunch of money. So in a very shady way. Again, a couple hundred years ago in Europe. And, that's how they got their initial wealth. And I'm not going to say the name of this family, because when I say the name of this family, people act weird. People get really weird about it. And I think the reason why is because people have been programmed. In fact, I know that's the reason why. People have been programmed and they do the programming. And I'll get to that. But I'm just wanting to go back in history to explain all of what's happening in 2020 and how all this has led to the craziness in 2020. What's up, Mark? So they got their wealth by being very manipulative people. And then once they got this wealth, and countries wanted some of this wealth, so this family would sell these countries bonds. And they would also use this family's money for wars. So this family funded wars on both sides. They would not take a side. They would make money off wars. So this family has been known for over 200 years to make money off our sad stories, off our chaos, off of our hating each other. For over 200 years. So they have a certain, and I'm going to get a little spiritual too. And again, some people are going to love me more after this conversation, and some people are going to hate me more, and that's okay. That's okay. But when it comes to consciousness, there's negative thought patterns that can basically take over you. And there's different ways to explain this in the spiritual world. Some people get really freaked out by the words demon possessed or reptilian consciousness. But if you take on a negative thought pattern as your own thoughts, you officially become possessed. So this family became somewhat possessed by a very negative thought pattern of making money in a very manipulative way and a really corrupt way. And then they gained some allies along the way. This is all leading up to 2020, so just bear with me. They gained some allies along the way, people that also gained wealth in a crazy amount. This family that I'm first talking about were the first trillionaires. And they're shadow elites, so we don't hear about them because they hide for for good reasons, for their own benefit, obviously. And if more people knew about them, then, you know, there's billions of us and only a few of them, we could take them out a lot easier. So they hide behind secrets and closed doors and have frontmen working for them. So they have allies that they have gained throughout time. A really paramount family at the beginning of the 1900s. And together they have... Why do you want to be in the video with me? Together they have formed, I guess, as much control as they possibly can in the health and medical worlds. They completely took over our education. They whitewashed it, and they also created a history to more of their liking for us to read in schools. And they also sabotaged the medical industry in many ways. They changed the education in which doctors learn. They got rid of everything homeopathic and natural healing and just, you know, work with medicine and train physicians to become medicine oriented so that doctors learn mostly about medicine in medical school as opposed to natural healing. They hijacked that education for profits. So again, that was the healthcare industry is early 1900s. And then before that, in the 1800s, the first family took complete control of, well, I shouldn't say complete control, but most control of the banking industry. So the first family gained the banking industry, and there's some reasons to believe they own the CIA. Some say they own the Federal Reserve. I have not found that to be 100% a fact yet. That could be just a myth. We don't know yet. And again, don't just take my word for it. You can do the research on your own to learn about these families. I won't be late. So I'm already ready. Makeup on. So now when they gained these allies, they became more powerful in numbers. Technology came into be with fax and phones and stuff like that, but they're trying to hide, so they can only really talk about these plans in person. I love your brain, your energy is amazing. Thank you so much, Alex. I appreciate that. Am I talking about the Rothschilds, Emmanuel? Maybe, maybe not. I'm not going to say any names. They could be one of the groups I'm talking about. This is all leading to 2020, so, and politics, and I'll get to that. But, so there's many, I shouldn't say many families, but there's a number of families that work together. Okay? And then they teach their kids how to run their legacy and their empires, and then it just keeps getting handed down generation to generation. They keep their trillions in the family. And they keep the same, you know, indoctrinate, your aura speaks for itself. Thank you, Ahmad. I appreciate that. So they teach their kids what they've learned. They've learned to make money by being manipulative and by wrecking countries, by bankrupting countries. They did that to the United States. They bankrupted the United States so that we would be at their mercy to use their money and borrow their money so then their banks could be infiltrated here. So that's how they would teach their families, that they would pass this down generation to generation. What's up, William? So when they created other allies, they got stronger and stronger, and they needed ways to communicate with each other so that they wouldn't get caught, like how Hillary Clinton got caught with emails. It's a dangerous way for them to communicate, so they created secret societies so that they could come together in meetings. And one of the first secret societies was the Illuminati, and I'm sure you guys have heard about that before. That was created by one of the Rothschilds, as well as one of the princes at the time, a monarch. So that obviously they came together to form a powerful alliance. And again, don't just take my word for it. You guys can do the research. I've been researching this stuff for a while now because 2020 got crazy and I just wasn't going to be a sheep, and I wanted to know what was going on. So I know people in really high positions. I know a monarch and second degree separation from a CIA agent, and a lot of people in power positions. So I have not only that kind of information, but I know how to source information as well. You can use DuckDuckGo as a search engine because DuckDuckGo will not censor information like Google does. And I'll get to censoring later too, but I just want to give a quick history lesson to catch you up to 2020. So basically, these families are forming alliances with other really powerful families and taking more and more control over everything that's important to control the world, basically. The banks, the media is all originally owned by one of these families. So all the major media, except I believe there's a couple independent channels, but I'm talking about mainstream media, for the most part, are owned by these shadow elites, these people that have an agenda. They own, it's a privately owned company. And so when you watch the news, it's not really the news, it's basically a propaganda machine owned by one of these trillionaire families that has an agenda, and I'll get to that agenda. I so appreciate you gaining this knowledge. Love you. Oh, I love you too, Mom. This is interesting. Appreciate you sharing, Chelsea. Thank you, Leah. I appreciate that. So they've infiltrated everything that's important to us, our healthcare system, medical system, and that has become extremely important this year. Those companies that we look to for information are privately owned by these families. And our education has been manipulated to be in the favor of these families. And our media has been bent to their propagandas and their agendas. So pretty much everything that we get bombarded with, there's some form of manipulation from these mega elites, these trillionaires. And if you don't believe there's trillionaires, then you just haven't done any research. They just hide. They're ghosts. So you just have to look for them. And they used to be more well known in the past because they weren't as good at hiding, or didn't really know to hide in the past as much because they weren't as powerful. But they get more and more powerful the more and more they hide. Hello, young lady. Hi, Sean. So anyway, now getting up to the 1900s, our medical, basically our whole medical system has been hijacked. And so that's why when a doctor argues with me about health and nutrition, I have some empathy for them because I understand that they may have only had one semester in medical school dedicated to nutrition and the rest dedicated to basically medicine, because it's a profit machine. It's one of the biggest profit machines that we have, especially here in America. Thank you guys so much for your hearts and watching. I really appreciate it. So now, a lot of us don't really know what's going on, but they're working on things behind the scenes because they have an agenda. Now I'm going to talk about this agenda. It's Agenda 2030. Their goal by 2030 is to have one government in the entire world, not just countries, but the entire world, one religion in the entire world, one central bank in the entire world, and they're going to run everything. There will be no democracy. There will be no freedom as much as we know freedom to be today. AI will be infiltrated in our brains. Like, this is their goal. I'm not saying it's going to happen. This is just their goal. And the reason why 2030 was the number is because of technology. They needed to have good technology to do the AI that their goal is. And another goal is to depopulate so that our population on planet Earth is more manageable for them to control. They basically want a quarter of what we currently have on Earth right now. So, if they want to depopulate, they're going to do certain things to, make that happen. That won't be so obvious that we will, basically see the man behind the curtain like Wizard of Oz. Like, oh, I see you. I see what you're doing. But when you're woke, you can see the man behind the curtain. I recommend reading a book, Pawns in the Game by William Guy. Yeah. There's a lot of really good books. There's One World Order. There's Battle Hymn. So much. There's a ton of really good books that you can read, and I highly encourage you guys research this on your own so you really know what's truly going on and you aren't just being manipulated by what you see on TV or what you hear on social media. Don't even take my words as the ultimate, like, oh, wow, this is, no, like, really check in with how it resonates with you, check in with how it makes you feel. If it's like, wow, that really does sound like the truth, wow, I resonate with that, I've been wondering why I've been feeling like that, and this makes sense to me, check in with your inner guidance, and then go research it on your own, because you are your ultimate guide. And I think the reason why I woke up to this was because of my spirituality. I think that if you have faith and you aren't afraid of dying, because we know if you have faith, you know that dying is just a transition. There's no real actual death. Maybe of this body I call cPenner right now, but otherwise, no, there's no death. So the deeper I've got into being spiritually woke, sorry, all my doors and windows are open because it's so hot here. I'm in Southern California, I'm in Orange County, and it's really hot here this week. So I apologize for the noise, but nothing much I can do except I would be sweating like crazy and then get really shiny, and then everyone would tell me I'm wearing too much makeup like they always do in my videos because I'm shiny. Anyway, so yeah, that's my point, is to make sure that you know your truth and that you aren't afraid of death, because death is the number one way that the shadow elitists can control you. Because if you're scared of death, then they can make you pretty much do anything. If you're afraid to die, they can be like, oh, well then here's this, take this vaccine, so you won't die. And then of course people are afraid of dying, so they take a vaccine that could maybe kill them, if not make them incredibly sick for life. So just make sure that you have a higher faith of some kind. Some people may call it God, some people may call it the universe, whatever you want to call it, then you call it that. But if you're awoke to that, you can see through the bullshit. And I also believe that when you're awoken to a spiritual truth or your own organic spirituality, you can see the bullshit in news. And when you can see the bullshit in news, then you really start to wake up. You don't watch it. And then you start really looking for real information. And when you don't watch the news, you're not getting hypnotized. So these families have used extreme measures to basically brainwash you. Extreme measures. I mean, I'm talking about subliminal messages, MK Ultra. They have the most intelligent psychologists working for them, and they know how to get to your psyche. And so when you turn on the TV, if you're not aware that it's a propaganda machine, then you can be controlled by their narrative. So you think the corona is a pandemic? Absolutely. In fact, that's what woke me up to this conspiracy this year. I watched Plandemic, and if you guys haven't watched Plandemic, it's such an incredible movie. It's on freedomplatform.tv. Again, freedomplatform.tv. I cannot put the link in here, it'll be censored. The one was classified and it was rated anti-Semitism and prohibited from publishing in many countries. It's on the website freedomplatform.tv. It's an amazing movie. It's incredible. That really woke me up to the agenda. Before 2020, their 2030 initiative was a little more out there. Whenever I would hear about it, I wouldn't necessarily believe it as much. But when 2020 hit, they showed their true colors. They're showing that this 2030 initiative is true. So yeah, again, freedomplatform.tv. Watch Plandemic, and everything else on freedomplatform.tv is amazing because it's a non-censored website. Everything that you see on social media is censored. That's why I have not used certain words in this video, because I would be censored. So I'm going to use, like for the sickness that we had this year, I'll call it COVID. And yeah, so COVID, I actually had an experience with it in February, and my ex got it. We took tests. He got the antibodies. I didn't get sick enough to get the antibodies, but my immune system already had antibodies from a previous coronavirus to just kick it. I just had the sore throat. So that's another reason I started to question everything. I said, like, why is everything shut down for something that just gave me a sore throat? And he got a fever. And that's it. Why is everything being shut down for that? What is going on? So I started looking into this, and I found some extremely credible and intelligent scientists, doctors. It's about population control, and Bill Gates and Dr. Flip-Floppin' Fauci is behind this, I believe. Yeah, he is behind this. Yeah, definitely. He's in, they talk about him a lot. They talk about both Bill Gates and Dr. Fauci a lot in Plandemic. One of the main virologists in Plandemic worked one-on-one with Dr. Fauci on the HIV virus. So if you wondered if that was created by man too, then you definitely want to check this out. But yeah, depopulation is one of their biggest goals. So there was a whistleblower, and she's also on this platform, Freedom TV, or freedomplatform.tv. She worked in the Wuhan lab and did confirm that they created the virus. She has a very long interview on freedomplatform.tv, and it'll blow your mind. So yes, it was created. It didn't start there. It started in a lab in America, actually, and then they further worked on it in Wuhan. And I think it started out during Obama's presidency, and then it got moved to Wuhan. And I think Obama did something, I don't remember what it was, but he was in Wuhan and helping something with Wuhan. I don't know what it was, so don't quote me on that. Anyway, but I knew that this was a plandemic after I watched this and then did my own further research and found out that fact checkers were funded by Bill Gates. Now, people wonder, like, what's going on with Bill Gates and what's going on with Dr. Fauci and George Soros. So this group of people, these families that have this 2030 initiative, they want to control us, depopulate us, one world bank, one world religion, one world government, and they want to rule. It's basically like a monarch system. They want to be the monarchs, and we're all going to be the peasants, so no middle class. That's what they want. That's their goal, and obviously there has to be a lot less humans on Earth to do that. So, you know, a lot of things have had to happen for them to get there. And right now there's billions of us and just a handful of them. And if we catch on to it too soon, then we could obviously do something about it. So they're not trying to be too obvious about murdering us. But they have front men that work with them that are a little more in the scene, in the know than they are, such as Bill Gates and Dr. Fauci and some politicians. I'm not going to name any names. And, sorry, my tripod just fell. And George Soros. So if you ask yourself the question, how are they going to do this? How is they want to divide us, divide and conquer. So everything, and they've been planning this for centuries, decades, centuries. So everything that has basically separated us as a family, as a nation, as a world, they've been behind. So feminism, I think, is a really good thing for, you know, we want equal rights, obviously. Women, we want equal rights, right? We all want equal rights. But the way it's kind of happened is basically kind of torn the nuclear family apart. And we've seen the cause and effect of that over the years, and it's been detrimental to our families. Our kids are doing worse in school, especially the boys. And we need strong men, and they know this. They know that if they weaken the men, especially, that they can do a better job of conquering. Black men, especially, are very strong, and some of the strongest in the world. In fact, back centuries ago, the black armies were the most powerful. So they want them as basically their army, or get rid of them completely. So think about what gets rid of them. Mass genocide, abortion. So mass genocide for the black population is abortion. And I'm not saying I'm pro-abortion or anti-abortion. I would say that I fall somewhere in the middle. I'm not saying I'm Republican or Democrat either. I say I fall somewhere in the middle. But I know their plan. And I think that if you know their plan, you can vote with the right mindset. That's the key that I really am trying to get to here. Hi, Aisha. I'm going to watch that movie now. I appreciate. Be careful, though. This fact checker bots will censor. Yeah, I know. I'm not really worried about it. I'm going to save the video. But we all know that Bill Gates Foundation is funding the fact checkers. So it just shows them. It should show us, like, what they're trying to do. If they're censoring us, then all the more reason for us to be like, wow, maybe she says something a little too true. Maybe she's catching on to them a little too much. Because all the people that I've been looking up to, the most intelligent people in the world, have been censored or deplatformed this year for telling the truth. So, hi, Aisha. I lost my train of thought because I was looking at your guys' comments. Okay, so they're weakening the family. They're dividing us. They don't care about black people at all. They're trying to depopulate them. That's why Bill Gates is murdering tons of Africans. And they finally caught on to it, so now they want to murder him. So he's been in hiding, so the Africans can't murder him. And then they want to use black people as pawns. So if you look into BLM, I love black people. They're my family. And I'm not racist at all, but the organization of BLM, if you actually go to donate, you'll see the company in which is taking the donations. And if you look into that and where they put their money, this is public information. They put it mostly into the Democratic Party. Why? I don't know. Maybe do some research to find out why. I'm not saying, again, I'm anti-Democrat. I'm not saying that. But I think that you should look into that. I think that you should try to donate to BLM and see where your money actually goes. And then you'll be surprised. So anyway, who was censored? Oh, everybody. Literally, like London Real and Waking with JP and just like amazing people that are so woke and so intelligent and just good people that are in the know. Very knowledgeable people. Anyway, so back to BLM. I so support, wanting to have equal rights, and I'm 1,000% into that. But George Soros is a very angry old man, and he's also a front man to this 2030 agenda. We can call them globalists, we can call them mega elites, whatever. He's a front man. He's basically been putting his billions of dollars into pretty much every precinct for Democrat governors, mayors in every major city for a while now. And then now he's been funding BLM protests and funding Antifa. I don't want to get too much into this because people get weird facts. BLM don't care about black men or the black family at all. Yeah, actually, no, it's a form of division. I think, you know, I am all about the black family and black people. Again, they're my family. And the true way to help black people is to put more money into their businesses and their community. That's it. You know, it's not about this division. Anything that you hear about that's divisive, think about the Initiative 2030. They want us to separate because we are not as strong when we are alone. How did they get black people as slaves back in the day? They didn't just take them all at once when they were in big groups together. They separated them and then took them when they were alone. That's how they got the slaves. They were separated from their family. They were all alone. So if they would have tried to be loud and get slaves in big groups, they would have been dead. But no, they preyed on the weakness, men hunting or separating from their family somehow, separating from their community, and they preyed on them. So they know that if they get us alone, they can do the same thing. We'll be weak. We're weak individually and we're strong collectively. So you think about anything that makes us individualized and separate, that is their job. Again, they have a negative thought pattern. Some may call it demonic. Some may call it reptilian. This is basically possessed them. It's the opposite of love. What does love mean? Love means oneness. Love means non-duality. Oneness. So anytime you hear something that sounds divisive, they're behind it. 1,000%. And they're so good. This 2030 initiative, globalists, they're so good at playing it with your head and your heartstrings. They'll make you feel like the compassionate thing to do is to really be extremist feminism or extremist BLM or extremist whatever it is that's separating us. Anti one of the presidents. Anytime you're in extreme hate for someone else, it's divisive. So, but then they do it in a very manipulative way, like evil geniuses. That's who these people are. They're evil geniuses. So they've infiltrated everything of importance to us, including the family and politics. Politics majorly. And they have been behind some assassinations, especially if they really do own the CIA, like I found in my research, they own the CIA. The CIA were assassins. And if you listen to Robert Kennedy Jr. on freedomplatform.tv, he talks about being in the coroner's office, looking at their father and what actually happened to him. And I'm not going to go into that here. I advise you watch that video that he talks about. He not only talks about his dad in that video, he talks about vaccines. And I shouldn't even say that word, the V's. I'm going to get censored so bad. I'm using all the words, all the code words that they're like, oh, censor. Anyway, so if they really do own the CIA, they're behind pretty much every assassination. Now it's a little bit more difficult because there's some alliances. My monarch friend told me that presidents are off limits, but President Trump was, there was attempted assassinations on him 26 times before he became president. He had private security, obviously, and lived. But when someone's president now, they're off limits after the JFK incident. So that's what my monarch friend told me. So again, it could be like it's his word. But a monarch would know more than anyone else, right? So Anyway, but if the globalists try to assassinate Trump, what does that tell you? So again, what I want to get into now is that I'm not like a lover of Trump or Biden or a hater of both. I really just want you to get to a better sense of understanding of why you should vote in a certain way. And the reason why I bring all this stuff up about the 2030 initiative and that agenda is because that should be your driving force to vote a certain way. If you did not like the control of 2020, if you did not like being told to wear a mask, by the way, a mask does not help you with the virus unless you're sick and coughing and spitting everywhere, but it doesn't protect you. There's so many studies on that. Again, all on non-censored platforms that you need to search yourself. But if you did not like 2020 being told to stay at home, everything being closed, being forced not to work, if you didn't like that, you're going to hate 2030. You're going to hate if these globalists get more and more tentacles on you. Therefore, all the more reason to find out who is more involved with these globalists than the other candidate. And this could be local, because by the way, we are more affected by our local governments than we are the president. So who's in your local office? Who's your city mayor? Who's your governor? Because we're locked down in California way longer this year than Florida was. So compare the two governors. They have two different agendas. One was probably bribed by the globalists. Like, really think about this stuff. These globalists are trillionaires. There's no limits to how much money they will pay politicians, doctors, like whoever they want to manipulate you and control you, because that's their ultimate goal. So, ding, masks don't do anything, but they're forcing us to wear. I support Trump despite the fact whether the Republicans nor Democrats run this country. So I do want to mention that Trump was quoted to say that this world is not for globalists, it's for patriarchs. I do want to mention that he did say that. That's caught on video. Now, Biden, I want to like him so much because he's a Scorpio. I'll just end it at that. But I really don't want people hating me more than they already do watching this video. I just want you guys to know that please understand the 2030 initiative that's much bigger than our president's, much bigger than anything else. It's our freaking freedom. Okay? So with that in mind, then you find out who you should vote for. Okay? Yeah, don't take the vaccine, you guys. The V. Okay, so the V companies are, I mean, that could be a whole video by itself, but I'm going to say that they have immunity, meaning if you get a V and you get injured, they're immune to any sort of lawsuit. They're immune to it. Who pays for the lawsuit? And that happens all the time because people get injured all the time from vaccines. The government, our tax money. So just keep that in mind, you guys. And that's a whole other video, but I really, really, really want you guys to understand that there is a huge agenda that we're working closer and closer to. Well, they are working closer and closer to every year. And you need to do your due diligence, both spiritually and mentally. You need to read, you need to meditate, you need to get right, you need to do clearings, and really just pay attention to your truth, and then facts that are basically censored in mainstream that you can find in DuckDuckGo, freedomplatform.tv, and if you have another non-censored website you want to put here, then please do. The technocrats, I call them, are most likely part of this 2030 agenda. So therefore, people are getting censored for talking about this stuff. So I don't know how long this video is going to be up, but I just want you guys to really know the truth so that you have a better sense of knowing who to vote for, both locally and presidentially, because if they are in bed with these globalists, mega elites, shadow elites, whatever you want to call them, we're all doomed for basically taking away our freedom. Some people want socialism, but all you have to do is ask somebody that actually lives in a socialism country to see if they actually like it, and they'll tell you the truth about that. That is actually more corrupt than capitalism. I met someone amazing from Slovenia that explained that their country is socialism, and it's even more corrupt. If you schedule a dentist appointment, you'll have to wait 3 months to get in, even if it is an emergency, because it's everything's paid for. But then, and you're paying every month for this stuff, and taxes. But then, if you want to get in sooner, you pay the dentist money. So that the dentists are double dipping, and then they do a terrible job because they get paid no matter what. So they don't care. There's no customer service. So if you want that, if you want socialism, first you need to talk to somebody that actually lives in a socialist country. They'll tell you the truth, because I learned in school in socialism class that it was the most beautiful thing ever. I actually did a term paper on the devil's advocate on the Marxist theory, and the teacher gave me not so great grade because they were trying to make the Marxism theory amazing, and they're trying to indoctrinate us to think that Marxism is phenomenal. Like, no, they're indoctrinating us. I didn't know at the time. But now I know. Now that I'm older, wiser, I have more of like attunement to source energy, I understand what they were trying to do. Yes, Daniel's brother-in-law, mom. Yeah, when I was talking to him at Jordan's place, he was telling us about true socialism. I was blown away. I was like, wow, this is crazy. Like, why doesn't everybody know? Because it's censored. And by the way, it goes from socialism, like the true path of Marxism is it goes capitalism, socialism, communism, and true utopia. How's socialism working out for those countries? How's communism working out for China? Just ask them. I mean, they might think that it's awesome, but look how much they're being controlled compared to us. Do we want that? Do you love your freedom? Then try as much as you possibly can to stand up for your rights. I refuse to wear a mask because what that's doing is it's complying to a 2030 agenda. They want to know with how much they can get away with controlling us right now. So all I do is I tell them that our county has been sued by a woman named Peggy Hall for fraud and for our civil liberties, and then they leave me alone. And by the way, there's an international lawsuit, COVID fraud and crimes on humanity, and they are mostly, these international lawyers are mostly focusing on the CDC and WHO. And then of course, after this lawsuit is becoming public, then the WHO announced that they don't recommend lockdowns, of course, because they're trying to backtrack so they don't get in as much trouble with this lawsuit. But most people don't know this information. You're not going to hear it on the news or mainstream media. The CDC has officially announced COVID to be an outbreak. It's no more a pandemic, but they still tell you to put on a mask. And the new numbers on the CDC does show that COVID officially is less deadly than the flu, with all age groups, even elderly. So put that in your pipe and smoke it. Most of the deaths with COVID were from people in nursing homes. What does that tell you? Most of them. Again, all numbers you can look up on your own. All information you can find on your own. This is public information if you look for it correctly. But the outbreak, you can see it on the front page of the CDC website. It says COVID outbreak. It doesn't say pandemic anymore. Why are they having you wear that? An agenda. It's an agenda. All right, you guys, I need to go. Thank you so much for listening. I appreciate you all. I love you. Thank you for all your comments and messages. I appreciate you. You're in a cult? I'm in a cult. You're weird. Okay, see, I knew some people would just be weird about this. Like, I never said I'm voting for Trump, dude. Like, I never said that. I'm talking about a 2030 agenda. That's much bigger than Trump. Much bigger than Biden. So you might want to look into that, Mark. Poor thing. Poor brainwashed little guy. All right, you guys, I love you.